A real man understands that when you step into a woman's life, you hold something sacred in your hands. You ain't just dealing with her smile, her beauty, her body. You're dealing with her energy, her peace, her story. Yeah, that's a whole soul you're touching. And if you ain't ready to handle that, you got no business being there. Too many men step into a woman's life looking for comfort, validation, or distraction, not realizing that they're playing with something they don't understand. Emotional accountability means owning that. It means being aware of the impact you have on somebody's heart and not using your confusion as an excuse to break what you can't fix. See, when you tell a woman things she's been praying to hear, when you promise loyalty, when you build dreams with her, when you make her feel safe, you're writing checks that her emotions cash. And when you switch up, when you go cold, when you say, I don't love you anymore, that ain't just words. That's a cut that bleeds into her confidence, her self-worth, her ability to trust. The truth is, most men never learn how to stand accountable for that. They think walking away quietly is strength. But real strength is being honest from the start. It's saying, I'm not ready before you let her build castles on sand. You can't keep moving through life breaking hearts and calling it growth. Growth ain't about leaving people damaged in your process. It's about learning how to evolve without destroying what helped you become who you are. Every woman that ever believed in you, every woman that ever prayed for you, every woman that stood beside you when you had nothing, she deserves more than silence when your emotions change. That's where accountability steps in. Emotional accountability is rare because it demands vulnerability. It means admitting you're wrong when your ego's screaming you're right. It means facing the pain you caused instead of pretending it didn't happen. It means you don't get to just say, I'm not the same person anymore and walk away like that. It erases the memories she carries. Nah. Growth doesn't cancel out responsibility. A man with accountability knows that love ain't a game of convenience. You don't show up when it feels good and disappear when it's uncomfortable. You don't tell her you love her just because she's giving you peace. You love her because you value her. And if that love ever changes, you face it like a man. You don't ghost her. You don't disrespect her. You don't make her question her worth because your feelings shifted. Most men don't realize the power of their presence. The same voice that once made her feel like she could conquer anything becomes the same voice that tells her she ain't enough. And those words echo long after you're gone. That's why accountability matters, because you leave energy behind everywhere you go. You might move on, but your actions stay in her spirit. They shape how she trusts, how she loves, how she sees herself. You can't undo that damage with silence. You undo it with awareness, with growth, with change. If you've ever told a woman she's safe with you, make sure she really is. If you've ever looked her in the eyes and said she means something, stand on that, even when the feelings fade. Respect don't expire when love does. That's emotional maturity. That's manhood. Every man reaches a point where he has to look back and ask himself, who did I become in her story? Was I the reason she smiled more? Or was I the reason she stopped trusting people? That's a question that'll tell you more about your character than any amount of money or success ever will. Because truth is, it's easy to say I love you. It's harder to be consistent with it. It's easy to post about being real, about being solid, but it's harder to live that when it means owning up to how you hurt someone who never deserved it. Accountability isn't weakness, it's power. It's standing tall in your truth, even when your truth is ugly. So yeah, emotional accountability, it's not about perfection, it's about awareness. It's about realizing that your actions have a heartbeat. And when you learn to respect that, you move different. You speak with intention. You love with purpose. You don't just leave women behind wondering why. You leave lessons, not scars. You leave memories that don't hurt to remember. You become a man whose presence built something, not one whose absence destroyed everything. I don't love you anymore. Those 5 words can flip a whole world upside down. They sound simple, but they hit like a bullet, quiet, quick, and life-changing. When a woman hears that from a man she believed in, everything inside her goes silent. It's not just the words that hurt, it's the realization that the energy she gave, the nights she stayed up praying, the sacrifices she made, all of it suddenly feels like it meant nothing. That's the kind of pain that don't fade quick. It lingers in the spaces between memories and the clothes left behind, in the smell of someone who used to feel like home. Most men don't understand the weight of those words. They throw them out in anger, confusion, or exhaustion, not realizing they're shattering something that took years to build. A woman doesn't just fall in love overnight. She grows into it. She invests her heart piece by piece. She learns to trust your silence, your habits, your ways. So when you say, I don't love you anymore, what you're really saying is, everything you believed about us was temporary. And that kind of betrayal hits deep deeper than arguments, deeper than mistakes, because it erases the foundation she thought was unshakable. When you love someone, your energy becomes part of their peace. You become the voice in their head that tells them it's all going to be all right. You become the reason they believe in something pure again. So when that same voice turns cold and says those words, it's not just love ending, it's faith breaking. And once faith breaks, rebuilding trust becomes a long, lonely road. What hurts most ain't always the loss of love. It's the loss of truth, because love can fade, but honesty should never die. If you fell out of love, own that. Don't lie to protect your image. Don't pretend to care just to ease the guilt. A woman can handle pain. What she can't handle is confusion. You owe her clarity. You owe her honesty about where your heart stands, because she gave you her soul in good faith. Too many men don't say, I don't love you anymore, with responsibility. They say it with detachment. Like it's supposed to end the story clean, but it never does. That sentence leaves an open wound that she has to stitch by herself. While you move on, she's left replaying every moment, every sign she missed, every conversation that now feels like a lie. She questions herself, thinking maybe she wasn't enough. But the truth is, sometimes it's not about enough, it's about evolution. People change, love changes, energy shifts. But even when it does, the exit still demands respect. You see, real ones know that how you leave someone says more about your character than how you love them. Saying, I don't love you anymore, shouldn't be an escape. It should be a conversation. If you outgrew the connection, say that with compassion. Don't destroy her spirit just to ease your own. You can leave without leaving her broken. You can be honest without being cruel. Because love at its highest level is never about possession. It's about growth, together or apart. And when you love somebody right, even if you can't stay, you make sure they walk away with dignity. That's maturity. That's what separates boys chasing feelings from men who understand legacy. Those words, I don't love you anymore, have broken countless women, but they've also awakened some. Sometimes the end of love becomes the start of self-love. Sometimes that pain becomes the fuel that builds her into something unstoppable. That's the beauty inside the hurt. The woman you thought you destroyed becomes the woman who rebuilds herself stronger than ever. Still, that doesn't free the man from accountability, because love ain't disposable. If she gave you her loyalty, her belief, her softness, you owe her the decency to handle that heart like it matters even when yours changes. Don't throw I don't love you anymore like it's just a statement. It's a turning point. It's a moment that defines who you are. So before you ever say those words, think about the eyes that looked at you with trust. Think about the hands that held you when you were low. Think about the heart that believed your promises. Don't let a moment of emptiness turn into a lifetime of regret. Because one thing's for sure, when you tell a woman you don't love her anymore, she may break that day, but she'll rise. She'll learn to live without your love, but you'll have to live with the memory of how you let something real slip through your fingers. And that's the truth. Most men never face. Love doesn't always end when you stop feeling it. It ends when you stop respecting it. There's a difference between growing and abandoning. A lot of people confuse the two. They start leveling up in life, new mindset, new money, new circle, and suddenly they act like the people who helped them get there don't fit the picture anymore. But growth ain't about cutting off everyone who loved you when you were still figuring yourself out. Growth is about learning how to elevate without forgetting who held you down when you were still on the come up. There's power in evolving, but there's weakness in using growth as an excuse to walk away from loyalty. When you build something real with someone, it's supposed to be a partnership through seasons. Good times, rough times, broke times, healing times, all of it. If the connection was rooted in truth, then growth should strengthen it, not destroy it. The problem is, people start mistaking peace for boredom and distance for development. They think becoming better means leaving people behind. But in reality, leaving without love, leaving without communication, leaving without closure, that's not growth. That's abandonment dressed in self-improvement. You see, a real man knows how to evolve with his woman. He knows that growth doesn't always mean separation. Sometimes it means elevation together. It means sitting down with her, sharing the vision, helping her grow too. Because what's the point of reaching new heights if the person who believed in you the most can't even recognize you anymore? Too many people chase new energy when they should be building deeper roots with the one who already understands their soul. Growth is supposed to make you more humble, not more distant. If the journey's real, it teaches you gratitude. It makes you look back and say, I wouldn't be here without the people who poured into me. But abandonment, That's when pride takes over. When you start thinking you're too evolved to deal with anyone who reminds you of who you used to be, that kind of mindset leaves a trail of broken hearts and burned bridges. And let's be real, some men use growth to justify walking away from good women. She was there when you were lost. She believed in your potential. She held you down when nobody else did. But now that you found yourself, you tell her she doesn't fit your life anymore. That's not evolution. That's ego. Because if she was good enough for you at your lowest, she should at least be respected when you rise. If you really outgrew the relationship, you owe her the truth. You owe her a conversation, not silence. Growth should come with understanding, not ghosting. You can evolve and still move with grace. You can change your path without destroying someone else's peace. Because abandonment doesn't just break hearts, it creates scars that follow people into every relationship after. When someone gets left behind without reason, they start believing they weren't enough. They start carrying that pain into every connection that comes after. Real growth never leaves people confused. It explains, it communicates, it values closure. Because growth rooted in awareness understands that every person who came into your life had a purpose. Some were lessons, some were blessings, but all of them deserve respect. Abandonment, on the other hand, is careless. It's the act of running from emotional responsibility and calling it transformation. It's pretending to be too evolved to face the damage you caused. That's not power, that's fear. If you're truly growing, your heart expands, you learn empathy, patience, compassion. You learn to move with intention. You don't just level up financially or mentally, you level up spiritually. And when you do, you understand that you don't need to hurt people to find peace. You don't need to disappear to heal. You don't need to abandon love to discover purpose. You can grow without causing pain. That's what separates a man from someone still learning who he is. The truth is, sometimes growth means you and your partner evolve in different directions. That happens. But even then, there's a right way to leave. You don't vanish. You don't disrespect what was real. You part ways with gratitude, not resentment, because no matter how far you go, the way you treat people on your journey will always define your character more than any success you reach. When you understand the difference between growth and abandonment, you start moving with integrity. You realize that people are not stepping stones, they're parts of your story, and you owe them honesty. You owe them closure. You owe them respect. So yeah, grow, evolve, build yourself up, but don't mistake isolation for elevation. Don't use becoming better as a mask to cover up selfishness, because true growth doesn't leave a trail of broken hearts. It leaves a legacy of people who can still speak your name with love even after you're gone. Respect is deeper than feelings. Feelings fade, shift, change with time. But respect, that's supposed to stay solid no matter what. Anybody can love you when it feels right. But respect is what shows up when it gets real, when emotions get messy, when things don't go as planned. A lot of people move off feelings and call it love. But when the energy changes, they move different. That's not love, that's comfort. Real love is built on respect, and that's what keeps two people grounded when everything else starts to fall apart. See, when you respect someone, you handle them with care, even when you're angry. You don't tear them down with words just to win an argument. You don't betray their trust because you're hurt. You don't expose their flaws to make yourself look strong. You move with discipline because you understand that once respect is gone, that don't mean much. Respect is the foundation that keeps the bond standing when the emotions run out. When a man really values a woman, he knows how to separate ego from emotion. He doesn't let temporary feelings destroy something built with time. He might be mad, he might feel distant, but he still talks with truth, not with pride. He still protects her image, even when he's not in her life anymore. Because respect is not about how you act when things are good. It's about how you behave when they're not. Most relationships don't fail because people stop loving each other. They fail because they stop respecting each other. When you start yelling just to be heard, when you start crossing lines you can't uncross, when you start using pain as revenge, that's when love turns toxic. That's when the same person who once gave you peace starts bringing you chaos. But that's not love dying, that's respect being neglected. Feelings are temporary, they come and go like seasons. Respect is steady, it's the decision to still value someone's humanity, even when you're no longer connected to them emotionally. You can fall out of love, but you can't fall out of respect unless you never had it to begin with. A lot of men say they love their women, but the real test is how they act when that love fades. Do they speak on her name with integrity? Do they remember the sacrifices she made for them? Or do they turn bitter trying to erase her worth because they can't handle the guilt of losing her? How you treat someone after you stop feeling the same way says more about your character than anything else. Respect over feelings means understanding that emotions are human, but behavior is choice. You can't control every feeling, but you can always control how you treat someone. You can be hurt and still be honorable. You can be disappointed and still be kind. You can let go without leaving scars. That's what makes a person real, not how deep they feel, but how disciplined they are when feelings fade. When you lead with respect, you leave peace behind even when you walk away. You don't burn bridges because you've grown past them. You walk off with gratitude, knowing that love serves its purpose. Every relationship, every bond teaches you something. Some people are meant to stay. Some are meant to prepare you, but everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. There's a certain kind of strength in not letting your emotions control your integrity. Anybody can be respectful when they're happy. It takes a real one to still move with honor when their heart is heavy, to still wish someone well, even when they couldn't be what you needed. That's rare energy. That's maturity. And let's be honest, the world would be different if people value respect more than feelings, if they understood that love is more than chemistry and passion. Love is discipline. It's choosing to be fair when it's easier to be cruel. It's choosing to listen when you rather yell. It's choosing to walk away with silence instead of dragging someone's name through the dirt. So when you say you love somebody, make sure respect is in that sentence. Because love can change, but respect that's what keeps your name clean in their story. That's what allows both of you to look back one day and say, even if it didn't last, it was real. It was solid. That's the kind of legacy you want to leave behind. Not a trail of people who once loved you and now hate you, but people who once loved you and still speak your name with peace. That's what it means to choose respect over feelings. It means to walk in truth no matter what season your heart is in. Healing and legacy go hand in hand. You can't build a legacy if you never took the time to heal from the things that broke you. Too many people want to move fast, want to prove something, want to look like they moved on, but healing ain't about pace, it's about peace. You can't pour into your purpose when your spirit's still bleeding. You can't love right, think right, or move right if you never face what hurt you. Healing is what shapes your legacy because it's the process that turns pain into wisdom, heartbreak into growth, and struggle into strength. When life hits you hard, you got two options. You either let it define you or you let it refine you. The pain will always be there. It's what you do with it that matters. Some people let it make them cold. Others let it make them deeper. The difference comes down to healing, to having the courage to face your truth instead of running from it. It takes strength to sit in your own silence and admit, yeah, that broke me. But it takes even more strength to say, it won't control me anymore. That's where the real transformation begins. See, when you start healing, you stop chasing validation. You stop needing to prove your worth to people who overlooked you. You stop repeating cycles with people who only understand your pain but not your peace. Healing teaches you to be still, to listen to yourself, to understand why you move the way you do. And once you start doing that, your energy changes. You don't attract chaos anymore. You start attracting purpose. You start finding people who don't just want your time, they want your growth. That's how your legacy starts forming from the lessons that came through your healing. Legacy ain't about fame or money. It's about the impact your soul leaves behind. It's about how people feel after you leave the room. It's about how you treat people when you have nothing to gain. And the truth is, you can't build a strong legacy on unhealed wounds because unhealed people pass down pain. They repeat patterns. They hurt others trying to fill their own voids. Healed people, though, they pass down peace. They teach love through example, not just words. When you start healing, you become intentional. You start moving from hurt and start moving from purpose. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop blaming and start understanding. That shift, that's where legacy begins. Every decision, every relationship, every word starts coming from a deeper place. You begin to realize that you're not just living for today, you're building for tomorrow. You're planting seeds for people you may never even meet. Healing doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you forgive yourself for what you accepted while you were still learning. It means you stop trying to change people who were never meant to understand your heart. It means you stop replaying pain and start rewriting your story. Every scar becomes a symbol of survival, not shame. Every failure becomes a foundation for growth. The most powerful people are the ones who took their pain and turned it into purpose. The ones who stopped complaining about their past and started using it to teach others. That's legacy. Not the cars, not the followers, not the fame, but the lessons you leave behind that help someone else find their way out of darkness. And don't get it twisted. Healing isn't pretty, it's lonely, it's uncomfortable, it's full of nights where you question everything, but that's where strength is built. That's where your spirit learns resilience. That's where you find yourself again after being lost in everyone else's expectation. Once you come out of that, you move different, you speak different, you love different, because you're no longer running from pain, you've mastered it. Legacy is what you leave when you're gone, but healing is what allows you to leave something worth remembering. Anybody can leave behind memories, few leave behind lessons. So take your time to heal. Sit with your pain until it teaches you what you needed to know. Don't rush it, don't fake it, don't hide it, because every healed wound adds a layer of wisdom to your story. At the end of the day, your legacy isn't about how many people knew your name. It's about how many people felt your light. It's about the way you made others believe in hope again. It's about leaving this world a little better than you found it. And that can only come from someone who faced their darkness, learned from it, and decided to turn it into light. That's healing. That's legacy. That's what real ones do. They don't just survive their pain. They turn it into something that outlives them.